In the spring of 1967, a man by the name of Dick Prenneke left behind a routine life and headed for a remote wilderness in the Alaskan backcountry, an area yet unspoiled by man's advance. This film is Dick's account of living alone in a place where no roads lead in or out, and the nearest settlement is 40 air miles away. Dick spends much of his time traveling the lake in his canoe, hiking the rugged country, and filming the abundant wildlife with his 16mm Bolex. The only means of transportation are his canoe and a strong pair of legs.
The mountains can be man's best friend. Exercise. To climb comfortably, I think the secret is to climb at a pace you can climb without a stop to rest. Binoculars are necessary, but I have spotted much more wildlife with my bare eyes. A sow grizzly with her 2-year-old cub was picking berries near hibernation time. They worked very fast, as if wanting to consume as many as they could before cold and snow came. Suddenly, she did wind me, stood up to look for me, and saw me. Down the mountain she and the cub ran to enter a brush patch. I to the viewfinder, I waited for them to appear on the far side. She didn't show, and when I took my eye away, I saw she was coming back alone, head high and walking fast. She intended to talk to me. I scooped up the tripod with camera and got out of sight and away, to look back from the cover of a brush patch.
The encounter with the mother bear and her cub is just one of the many dangers of living alone in the wilderness. Dick's cozy little cabin is well equipped and provides him with warmth and safety, even through the harshest of Alaskan winters. Food supplies and mail are flown in occasionally by float plane from Port Allsworth. And a hot stew like this suits Dick just fine. And once in a while, a guest drops in for dinner. It's October 4th now, and Dick spends much of his time preparing for the harsh winter that lies ahead. Temperatures will fall to as low as 40 degrees below zero, and the relentless wind will blow 80 miles an hour.
The lake is often too rough to travel with the canoe. The water is very cold, and to capsize could very well be disastrous. In 25 years, I have never turned over on the lake and have traveled some very rough water. Winter is fast approaching. Creeks and waterfalls are starting to freeze and become silent for the winter. My creek, Hope Creek, which is fast, freezes from the bottom up. It seems strange to see rocks underwater coated with ice. The reason is that the water may be a few degrees below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and it stays open as long as it is moving fast. If it slows just a little, ice will form. It becomes a creek of water flowing in a trench of ice. Eventually the water will break through and then flow over the creek bed under the ice for the winter.
This encounter with the wolverine surprised the wolverine as much as it did Dick. The wolverine heard Dick's camera running and quickly retreated as if on springs.
Snow has come in depths. The ground is frozen. The grizzly bear's food supply is locked up. It heads for its favorite denning mountain. I know of a dozen or 15 den sites within sight of my cabin. October 15th, give or take a day or two, finds the bears digging dens. It is interesting to see one choose a site and make the dirt fly. Sometimes they are inside the mountain in 1 hour's time. The ptarmigan roosts in the snow at night. If it is packed snow, it will sit and scratch like a barnyard hen. Snow flies and the white bird settles deeper and deeper. When deep enough, it snuggles down and is set for the night. The fox and the wolverine and other predators hunt the ptarmigan at night. The rams have a separate summer range, and a full-coat ram is seldom seen at the lick. They will bump heads to determine who is boss at rutting time, but I have seen them bump heads in spring and summer too. I have seen one big ram stand with head lowered and take the blows of two, the second one coming in as the first one clears the target. It sounds exactly like clapping two blocks of wood together.
Twin Lakes isn't deep snow country. 16 inches in one snowfall is about as much as Dick has ever seen. Dick shovels his pathways after each snowfall to make room for the next snow. And after about a foot of snow, Dick depends on his snowshoes every time he leaves his cabin. Dick travels hundreds of miles on snowshoes every winter.
November 8. Never waste the time to cut wood. Cut wood on nice bright days when the temperature is less than 25 below. Very agreeable weather to work in the woods with not the slightest breeze. I have never used anything but hand tools to make wood. No chainsaw here where the wolves howl. I pack in wood on a GI molded plywood backboard until near spring when the snow gets deep and the brush is covered. The lake loses its reflective quality, and I know freeze-up is only hours away, unless the wind comes to hold it open. I have paddled the lake when the ice was forming fast and felt if I was 3/4 miles from shore, it would be a real struggle not to get stuck offshore by new ice. Grizzly bear tracks in the snow. Where will it dig its winter quarters? You can pretty much tell how large the bear is by the width of its track. A 9-inch wide track might mean a 9-foot bear. Moose detect movement. On the wide open lake ice, they won't detect me if I stand perfectly still. So I'll follow them and stop when they stop. They won't see me if they are moving when I am. To gain on them, I walk faster than they do, and always stop when they do. I followed them into the dense cover above the head of the lake. They have been growing that huge rack since early in the year. It is very soft and tender, and they are very careful not to damage it, or it will be a deformed antler. All summer the bulls are secretive, and I seldom see one. The antlers become mature and hard in late August. The velvet-like covering is rubbed off on a small tree by raking the antlers up and down against its trunk. The velvet comes free easily, and the antlers are now the color of a tattletale gray dish towel. The bull now becomes a little bold and may be seen in the open. He starts traveling the game trails looking for cows. The moose rut is approaching, and I have observed its climax about October 10th a few times. The bull moose was crossing the river flat when he dropped down a bank, and the sudden jar of striking the ground under the snow caused one antler to break free. It was December 10th, and the time for antlers to drop naturally is in February. The antler broke out of his skull, and not at the separation point. A trophy. I draped it over the back of my neck and carried it 3.5 miles to my cabin where it hangs today. December 10th. In December, the sunlight hours amounts to about 6. At my cabin, the sun fails to clear the mountains to the south. From November 9th to February 1st, it is a joy to see the sun, and I sometimes climb 400 feet up the mountains across the lake to stand in the sun. It can also be well above zero up there when it is 30 below on the lake ice, and I hate to come back down, but unfortunately I must. From one location on the lower lake, I can see it pass a notch in the mountains. The sheep have come down the mountain slope to dig for feed, which they must do.
36 degrees below zero during the heat of the day. A land without motion. In the dead of winter, nothing seems to move. Not even a twig on the willows.
In winter, when the ice is 4 inches or more thick, it is safe for planes equipped with skis to land. I would go outside, stateside, that winter, and it was Babe Ellsworth in his little 85 horsepower Taylor craft that came to fly me to his homestead, 40 miles, and on to Anchorage in his Cessna 180. I covered the windows and fireplace chimney to keep the snow and rain out, and to prevent small rodents from entering the cabin by that route. The pine marten has been known to enter a cabin by way of the fireplace chimney. May 17. After spending the winter in Primrose, Iowa, I returned to Twin Lakes to find it had been a late spring. The snow about the cabin area was still 30 inches deep. With the long-handled number 2 shovel, it took a while to get shoveled out. Had it been a cold winter, I would cut a hole in the ice offshore to answer that question. May 21. Today was the day I would check the ice for thickness. It had shown no change since I came. I had no ice auger or ice chisel, so it would have to be the heavy 4-pound pole axe to cut through, the long-handled shovel to remove the chips. Why, it was like digging a grave. Chop a rectangular hole as deep as is comfortable, keeping the chips cleaned out to expose solid ice. Then get down in the hole and chop again. Deeper and deeper, and no water, until near 48 inches when the axe broke through. Water boiled up, and I had to move rapidly to prevent wet feet. And even 48 inches was the thickness. Never in 25 years have I seen it equaled. The breakup of the lake ice would be late this year. Breakup is the occasion to celebrate with some treat I have been hoarding for that great event. Caribou calving time. The days are long, and the direct sun on the tundra creates heat waves or shimmer that can be a problem when filming. To get above a few feet and shoot down through is a great help. To visit a herd of thousands at calving time is something to remember. Hundreds and thousands of new calves, all about the same size. In less time than you can imagine, a new calf can travel with its mother and run unbelievably fast if need be. I have seen grizzly bears zigzag through a herd looking for newborn calves. Spring, and the ptarmigan turns from winter white to summer brown. I watched the flock closely, and the first brown feather came to the neck. Sometimes I've seen a ptarmigan fly, and a white feather come drifting down. Come late fall, the last brown feather to fall was from the neck, and one on either side. Spring is a time of much action. It seems that all life knows it must make the most of the short spring and summer season, where in winter I often have days and weeks of silence, except for the call of the raven and the magpie. Then the sun comes back and the country comes alive. Everyone is soaking up the sun. The snowshoe hare starts turning from white to brown. Caribou appear from the low country to pick the first green feed along the stream between the lakes. Probably the red fox lost her foot in a trap And I feel sorry for him. It must create a problem when it comes to making a living. Of course there are winter-killed sheep, and if it has been a hard winter, there may be several of them on the mountain. The black bear's keen sense of smell finds them, and all that will remain is the hair. Often I have seen a lone cow with a small calf trotting, and always down country where the herd is. The beaver lives in his lodge throughout the winter. It has a patch of green feed a short distance out from the entrance to the lodge. During the fall season, the beaver has been very busy gathering this ghostly brush for winter. It anchors the big ants to the bottom, and it never seems to come loose and drift away.
It's May 30th now, and winter's ice is melting, but still 20 inches thick. The mountain slopes are misted with green, and cottonwood buds are opening. After a long winter, Dick says, spring is a welcome sight.
The doll ewes make good mothers. While the lambs are very young, they go into isolation a short time before the lamb is born. Soon she becomes careless. The lambs congregate and play among the rocks and ledges. It is good practice for their future life on the rough part of the mountain. Caribou are growing antlers for the late summer, fall, and winter season. For cows and even calves will have a good show of antlers. Something dead on the mountain is most sure to be found by the black bear or the grizzly, for both have a very keen sense of smell. Where does the black bear hibernate? I have never seen one at a den on the mountain. An old-timer told me one time that he tracked in the spring snow a big grizzly tracking a big black bear, and he found where the grizzly killed and ate the black one. Grizzly bears enjoy the steep snow-filled washes on the mountain slopes. Adult bears enjoy them as much as cubs. If they want to descend to a lower elevation on a steep slope, they will sometimes slide down. Seldom have I seen two mature bears together, except at mating time. Many people think a bear den must be a pretty smelly place, but I have been in many, and I have yet to find one that is other than completely fresh. It is as if the bear dug the den, went in, laid down, got up, came out, and went on its way. The record length of time for a bear in hibernation, as I have recorded it, it was the middle of October when I watched the bear dig the den and go in. It snowed that night and covered the den, and it was the last day of April, 197 days later, when the bear came out, and I knew within 30 minutes of when it did come out. It was completely active and showed absolutely no sign of being in hibernation. I know of nothing a sow grizzly is more afraid of than a big male bear. If she discovers one in the area, she will take her cubs and go over the mountain as quick as she possibly can. Beware of a sow grizzly if she has cubs. She has seen you on the mountain, and then one of those cubs cries. She might just very well think you are responsible, and she will come and talk to you about it, and she will show absolutely no fear when she does. The way to take care of that situation, or the way I did, was to get out of sight and get away. When the cubs are very small, and there are two or more, they spend a lot of time playing. Old Mom wants them to have their milk often. Each time they rush by in their playing, she may lay back against the slope, indicating that it's time for milk. Without a doubt, the cow moose and the sow grizzly bear show the most human-like intelligence of any wild animals I have ever known. In this case, a sow grizzly and her small cub were traveling a high mountain trail. The cub was very active, and when he got close, the sow grabbed him by the nape of the neck, picked him up and carried him like a cat would a kitten for several steps, and then dropped him on his rear end. That little guy fell in at her heels and went trudging along with his head down, completely behaved. They hiked to the land of the caribou. It would amount to about 20 miles and no blacktop. It is June 21st, so there will be no darkness. Sunrise to sunset is about 18 hours. The ice of winter is still with me. A strong wind has moved the ice, and like a giant dozer, it pushes up on the beach. A great place to rest this very warm day in June. August is the warm one, when a temperature of 80 degrees is possible but not common. The first day of summer, and a good time to see many caribou, cows, calves, and a few bulls. After calving, they congregate in huge herds, and more than once I have seen many thousands of caribou about the first days of summer. Lots of caribou together are not spooky. They see you, but they are not afraid. It has been a long hike, and my trophy, a caribou rack from a caribou long dead. Sourdough starter is the start of a loaf of bread. The starter dates back to 1937 and is brought to Kodiak by an elderly trapper who said he got it while trapping on the Kuskokwim River, which is not far from Twin Lakes, so it has gone about full circle. First, I mix up what is known as a sponge. Put it in a warm place to rise at least double its volume. Then punch it down and add shortening and salt. Knead it a bit until I can work it with my bare hands without sticking. Form a loaf and put it in a greased pan to rise again. Then bake it until it sounds hollow when tapped. July 2. Here at 2,000 feet elevation, it can freeze ice any month of the summer season. July 4th. And new ice is not unexpected. If the movement of air has been from the northwest and then becomes totally clear and dead calm for a night. I grow a few potatoes just to see how they will do. New ice on the puddle means my potatoes have had it. Caribou bulls lead a relaxed life in summer. Lots of good feed and the cool of the high country for comfort. In the low country, I have seen bulls run, first one direction and then turn 180 degrees and run the other for no other reason than to create a breeze to keep the insects from tormenting them. But here they have no such problem. Snow patches left over from winter, and if there is snow and a caribou can get to it, that is where he will paw a few strokes with a big front foot to create a bed and then lay down. For feed, they will eat quite a variation. In spring and summer, they reach and grab, as if very hungry for new green feed. When the bears come out of hibernation, they don't appear to be hungry, although they haven't eaten in 6 months or more. Watching them closely, I see them showing a slight interest after a day or two. In a week, they may be feeding, but still not spending much of the daylight hours doing it. They may quit early and sleep late in the morning. I have seen sows with cubs sleep until 9 in the morning, when the sun is up at 4 o'clock. In summer, when low green stuff has made good growth, they will eat lots of it. Plants such as the cow parsnip and the bear flower. Areas that are sub-irrigated and the plants grow very lush is a good place to find a grizzly bear. The caribou is a sure-footed traveler of the mountain slope. Be it tundra, scree, or coarse talus, you will find well-defined caribou trails most every place you go. In coarse loose rock, I have traveled trails where over the years, and probably hundreds and thousands of years, caribou have not only used the same trail, but used the individual tracks each step. Using these tracks makes it much easier to travel than crossing the same area with no trail. In mid-July, the antlers, still velvet-covered, have made good growth. It will be late August before they are fully mature and ready for the velvet to be rubbed off. July 29. My fishing hole is closed, no more than a few hundred yards from the cabin. I am a subsistence user. I catch only what I can use. In this case, it was catch and release, to show you the beautiful grayling. The grayling has a very tender mouth and is easily injured. I have seen grayling caught and released in a little pool only feet away. They appeared uninjured for close to a minute, and then turned on their side and died. Catch and release is a great temptation when they are feeding on the surface. It is easier to catch them than to keep that black knot fly away from them. It is a nice experience to see grayling feeding, rolling, and jumping for insects, and you sitting quietly watching them instead of attempting to hook them. How far can a porcupine squirt their squills, I have been asked. Truth is, they will stay in place unless something or someone comes in contact with them. It's the tail that causes much grief. It is very muscular and is always on your end of the porcupine. At the slightest touch, the porky flips it up, and you have had it. The quills have many small barbs on the outer end. The end next to the body is lightly attached and comes free very easily. Due to the barbs, the quills penetrate deeper and deeper if a moving part is involved. They can be fatal if directed towards a vital area. When the porky is aroused, he erects the quills, which normally lay flat. A dog or other animal tries to bite him, and they get a mouthful of quills. August 8th, and the rains came. I didn't realize it was the expected flood. Day and night it rained, and pretty heavy. I could hear it on the roof at night, and in the morning I would look at the mountains across. There were streaks of tumbling water in dry washes that were normally dry. Yellow water began to spill into the lake, and that is an indication that the water is cutting banks upstream. In a few minutes it could start a channel where none had been since before the trees and brush had started to grow. I boxed up some food and clothes, preparing to move out. At 2:30 in the morning, in hip boots, I was out packing heavy rocks, attempting to crowd the channel left and away from my side of the flat. Trees were undermined and fell in. Those and rocks would pile up and cause the creek channel to change. Here and there, gravel banks would collapse and go rushing downstream, carried by the fast water. I'd often wondered why the creek flat was so broad, and never had I seen high water to create the flat. Now I knew, for the water was from timber to timber on the sides. The lake came up into the brush along shore. It came up to my pathway towards the cabin from the lake. With the string level, I checked and found the water level to be within 9 inches of my cabin floor. August 12, the flood emergency passed. I relaxed by taking a good hike to glacier country. On a rock moraine, I saw evidence of a flood. A deep trench had been cut in what appeared to be loose rock and nothing more. It was 12 or 15 feet deep and a trench to solid ice. A German mountain climber once told me, never go on a glacier alone. Snow bridging, a crevasse can collapse under you and there is no chance of climbing out. Another climber told me, a crevasse can open in 5 seconds, and it can close in 5 seconds too. Several years ago, I was on a small receding glacier and no sign of crevasses. Just recently, I was there again to see crevasses very wide and deep. I can't believe they were bridged with snow on former hikes. Grizzly bears often stand on hind legs with their back to a tree. They scratch their back and also leave some hair that comes free. They scratch their back and often when standing full height, turn their head and scar the tree by biting a chunk out of it, or at least leaving tooth marks. I call them bear trees. Is it sort of a social register that identifies the bear that rubbed and its height? I believe it might be. On one occasion, I saw a grizzly stand back to a tall rock and rub it vigorously. As if not realizing it was stone, the bear turned his head, reached high, and opened his mouth, as if to leave his tooth marks. and then realized his mistake. I don't see many large grizzlies at Twin Lakes for years, spring and fall. I have seen a track 9 inches wide. That is a big track for this country. Seldom do I see one more than 7 inches wide. I believe there are more good-natured big grizzlies than small. Occasionally, I see a caribou bull with a deformed antler. The antlers are very soft when in velvet and growing. The caribou is very careful not to bump it and certainly not subject it to a major accident. And it would be interesting to learn just how some badly deformed antlers come to be that way. August 21. What determines the blueberry crop? Is it winter and lots of snow, an early spring and warmer than normal? I've had hikers from Maine tell me that in Maine we don't like the black fly, but we like it at blueberry pollinating time, so perhaps it is the insects here. In the vicinity of June 20th is blueberry blossom time, and some years there are blossoms unlimited, but few berries. Another year it might seem that every blossom produced a berry. The blueberry is the most plentiful of the many berries at Twin Lakes. And there is a low-bush cranberry, lingonberry in Sweden. A bag of them can be hung from a peg on the outside of the cabin in winter. Frozen hard, you can use them as you need them. One day I heard a rifle shot and wondered. Then I stumbled onto this fine caribou bull, dead and bloated. Now it was clear the hunter had wanted a grizzly bear. They had killed the bull for bear bait. They knew it would bloat and decompose, the bear would smell it and come to feed on it. The bear did come after the hunter and guide had flown away. The bull amassed the maggots now, the kind of food a bear craves. With the velvet rubbed off, the antlers appear nearly red in color. As they weather, they slowly turn to polished brown. They now head down country to begin the rutting season. The Chillicothe River, drains Twin Lakes. It is quite fast, averaging about 5 miles per hour. It is popular with river floaters. There is one Class 3 rapids. Boulders and sweepers are two of the hazards involved. King and red salmon come up 2 river systems before reaching the Chili and on up to Twin Lakes. Rainbow trout are caught in the slower reaches. A popular float is to start at Twin Lakes and be picked up at Dummy Creek. Actual floating time, about 24 hours. The Chili is also popular with float hunters. They put in at the headwaters, Twin Lakes, and hunt caribou and moose as they float down. A big rack can be a load for a bull to pack around. Often I have observed them bedded down dozing, and their antlers slowly tip to one side or the other. Suddenly they wake up and get them bounced, only to have them sag again. Some bulls rub velvet earlier than others. One's antlers can still be in full velvet and its mate rub velvet free and turn brown. September 5. New snow is sure to appear in September, and it can come after mid-August. It is the pretty time of year and a busy time. The birds have mostly departed for the Southland. Moose and caribou have rubbed velvet. The sheep who molded their winter coat in June have now grown a new winter coat that will be ready for the chill of October. Perhaps it is the remains of a hunter-killed moose that the big bear has found and claimed as his own. He has a very keen sense of smell, and it serves him well. He can be very dangerous when guarding his find. Thunder into him, and he may maul you terribly, as some unfortunates have found. September 21. It is about the end of the season for the blueberries, and the blackberry is busy. Frosty nights freeze the berries, and they become dead ripe and soon fall to the ground. The search for gold is not without its hazards. Normally bears are very shy and prefer to leave the area if they encounter you. But don't depend on it. There is always that rare one that might come looking for trouble. Gold is where you find it, and this would be a very lucky find. It seldom comes this easy. Panning can be slow, back-tiring, work for very little pay, probably not enough. There is that feeling that you're going to strike it rich any day now. Many prospectors are grub-staked, financed by a grub-staker, a person who will furnish the necessary money for food and supplies, and in return get a share of the find. It can be very little or none, or a lot. It doesn't take good eyesight to see them, and you will recognize them as gold the first time. In the case of this lucky find, I think the diggings was solid with gold. Enough of that muck called gold. Winter will soon be here, and placer mining must cease when ice comes to the creek. I have carved many ladles from white spruce. Birch is better, but there is no birch here at 2,000 feet elevation. The way I do it is with a gouge chisel, and a very sharp one. I hollow out the bowl and then work around it. Give it a critical inspection often to see that it is shaping up to suit. Check the thickness of the bowl with thumb and forefinger. Get it roughed out, and then use my half-round coarse wood rasp, followed by fine-cut rasp, and then sandpaper with grit from coarse to fine. I have made many and gave them all away. One small one I saved for the plaque on the wall with these words: Twin Lakes Champion, sourdough biscuits and beans.
Like Dick says, I think a man has missed a very deep feeling of satisfaction if he has never created, or at least completed, something with his own two hands. I have thought briefly about getting caught in rock slides or falling from a rock face. If that happened, I would probably perish on the mountain in much the same way many of the big animals do. I would be long gone before anyone found me. My only wish would be that folks wouldn't spend a lot of time searching. When the time comes for a man to look his maker in the eye, where better could the meeting be held than in the wilderness?